Hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I am a regular dude walking in the Word. This week is Christmas week of 2022, and we are looking at the story of Christmas through the eyes of Matthew. Matthew was one of the gospel writers. In the past couple years, we've looked at the Christmas story through the eyes of Mark, and then we've looked at it through the eyes of Luke. Okay, the most popular story, because it gives the most details about the whole Christmas story, is Luke. Now, what you need to do is you need to put them all together, piece them all together, and it gives you a complete picture of Christmas, okay? So this naturally, like this story that Matthew told, doesn't include the shepherds and the manger and stuff like that. But it focuses on the wise men, and the wise men are not the focus, in the other stories here. So it's a different perspective, but it's all part of the same story. So today we're looking at the wise men, and I want you to see that the wise men were seeking God. We talked about yesterday how Herod, he was seeking himself. He had no desire to seek God. But these guys traveled this way to worship God. That's why they came. So let's read today from Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. Okay? And this is the same exact passage that we read yesterday, but we're looking at it at this perspective of how the wise men reacted to everything. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star and rose and have come to worship him." I'm going to point out one thing here. The wise men, in your nativity scenes and everything, you have that it's usually three wise men. And you hear, there's, I think, maybe even songs about the three wise men and so forth. The Bible doesn't tell us how many wise men. But we get that idea that it was three wise men because we think of the gifts that were given. So you go to a birthday party and you might be like, I wonder how many people came. Well, you count up the gifts and usually that gives you an idea. And so that's why we're saying three wise men. But there's no biblical evidence that there were three wise men. It could have been 50 wise men. Okay, it could have been 2. We don't know. But the point is, there were wise men that came. Verse 3, when King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called them together, all the people's chief priests and the teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. Okay, we've talked about this in previous episodes, and the people and the religious leaders didn't have a doubt in their mind that he was going to be born in Bethlehem, and they had no delay in their reaction. Well, he's going to be born in Bethlehem because Micah prophesied that. Verse 5, in Bethlehem, in Judea, they replied, for this is what was written. Okay, and it was written by the prophet Micah. And this is the prophecy. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who is the shepherd of my people Israel. Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report it to me so that I may too go and worship him. Okay. Verse 9, after they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen, when it rose, went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. Verse 10, when they saw the star, they were overjoyed. Get this, these guys are so excited about seeing that star that led them, they're overjoyed. All right, you never see Herod overjoyed over anything except himself. But these guys are overjoyed seeing the star that's leading them to Jesus. Verse 11, on coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. Okay? After reading this, you see they traveled all this way. They traveled from the east. We don't know exactly where they came from. We can assume different parts of the world that they came from, but we don't have concrete evidence of where exactly they came from. But it was a faraway place, all right? And these guys came from the east, but their purpose in coming was to worship God, all right? It says that in the last thing, they presented gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But in verse 11, on coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Okay, if I see someone, I'm not bowing down and worshiping them. That's just me, except for God. These guys came down and they worshipped Jesus, who is God. Okay, so they knew early on that he was divine, and they knew from the stars or whatever. But they had. And it's sometimes speculated that the prophecies of Daniel inspired these guys to make this trip. We don't know for sure, but they made the trip, all right, and they went there. But the thing was, they came to worship God. That was their purpose in coming to worship God and see this. So it's very different than what Herod was doing. Herod was like, how can I please myself? What can I do for myself? These guys were like, how can we please God? And they came all this way to worship God. All right. So, again, you're looking at Christmas this week. How are you going to react? Are you going to be doing things that please God? How can I serve God? How can I be a worshiper of God? Or are you going to be like Herod and go, how can I please myself? What good things can I do for myself today? Look at ways that you can please God and you can please others. All right. I conclude with that. Thanks for watching. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we conclude the Christmas week, because tomorrow is Christmas. Yippee. All right, we shall see you tomorrow. Lord's blessing to you.